book is called Snails. It's the first expository nonfiction book that we're going to be reading together. The author is Monica Hughes, and it's published by Creepy Creatures. Have you ever seen a snail? Where did you see it? What did it look like? What kind of things did you notice it doing? Ooh, some of you said that you've seen snails in your garden before. Remember, we are going to be learning about snails, and we're going to be learning about their habitats. Remember, a habitat is a place where something lives. I'm going to read Snails out loud to you today, and we're going to stop and notice some of the text features that we see as we read. Okay, so far we've talked about two different text features. We've talked about the table of contents, and we've talked about chapter titles. Go ahead and take out your Making Meaning book that we looked at the beginning, the one that looks like this. You're going to turn to page 17. Page 17 looks exactly like the table of contents of the book Snails. Take a minute to take a look at it. Based on what you see in the table of contents, what other things do you think we'll learn about snails when we read this book? Yeah, we'll probably learn about the snail's tentacles. We'll learn about snail trails. I wonder what that's about. Do snails go hiking on trails? Or does that mean something else? Do you think we'll learn about what snails like to eat? Some people are saying yes. Which chapter title makes you think that? Right, Food for Snails. I wonder if we'll find out what snails do when bad weather comes. Do you see a chapter that might tell you that? Snails in winter. I wonder what they do. I can't wait to find out. We're going to learn about snails' bodies too. So I'm thinking their shell and that squishy part. I'm wondering what that's all about. Snails. Snails by Monica Hughes, published by Raintree. There's that table of contents that we looked at. Snails. Snails are small animals that live outside. They have soft, slimy bodies and hard shells. Kinds of snails. There are many different kinds of snails. Some snails live on land. Other snails live in water. Okay. Did you notice the chapter title here, Kinds of Snails? What kind of snails did I read about? If you said some snails that live on land and snails that live on water, thumbs up for you. Snail bodies. A snail's body is called a foot. A snail can pull its foot into its shell. Snail tentacles. Notice that chapter heading again. Snails have 4 tentacles on their heads. 2 tentacles taste and smell. 2 tentacles have eyes. Here are the tentacles. 2 of them are for smelling and tasting. 2 of them are for seeing. Snail trails. Snails move very slowly. They slide along on trails of slimy mucus. Mucus is a thick, gooey liquid. Think about like what comes out of your nose when you blow it. That's mucus. Ew. Snails slide along in trails of that. What did you learn about snail bodies in the part I just read? Right, we learned that snails have a body called a foot. That seems strange. What else did you learn? Did you learn anything about different kinds of snails? Oh, that's right. Some of them live on land and some of them live in the water. What did you learn about tentacles? How many do snails have? If you said 4, give yourself a pat on the back. Did you remember what the tentacles are used for? That's right. 2 of them are used for smelling and tasting, and 2 of them are used for seeing. The next part that we will read will tell about where snails might be found, what they're like when they're babies, and how they survive. Pay attention for those things. Looking for snails. Notice again that that is the title of our chapter, Looking for Snails. Snails live in gardens. You might find some in a flower pot. You might find snails in some leaves. New snails. New snails hatch from round white eggs. Baby snails are very small. They have soft shells and bodies. Food for snails. Notice that chapter title again. Snails eat the leaves and flowers of dried, dead plants. They eat growing plants too. Snails can be garden pests. Oh, I'm making a connection to that part of the book. I had a garden one year and we had so many snails in that garden eating all of the lettuce, and I had to figure out ways to get rid of them. Snails in danger. These snails are in danger. They have pulled their bodies inside their shells. Snails can make foam too. Foam keeps snails safe from predators. Remember, predators are anything that would eat or kill a snail. So they use the foam as a way to keep predators away. Snails in winter. Snails hibernate or sleep through the winter. They go inside their shells and they close them off with mucus. Remember, mucus is that slimy, gooey stuff. So they close it off. Okay, let's think about what we've learned about snails so far, because you are going to actually write down some of the important details that you heard as part of your work for this week. I'm going to say the questions in a few minutes, and the questions are also going to be posted in your weekly things to do. If you need to listen to the book again to find the information, go ahead. Okay, so today we read an expository nonfiction book about snails, and we paid attention to those chapter titles. And we thought about what was the important information that we learned in each chapter that taught us about snails. This is an important thing that readers do, and it's something that I want you to practice this week. I want you to spend some time, in particular, reading nonfiction books. There's a whole collection of them on Epic, or you might have some at home that you want to use. The cool thing about this is there's so many different topics that you can learn about. Pick something that you're really interested in and find a book about it. Once you've done that, when you're reading this week, pay attention to those chapter titles. Notice the table of contents before you start and think about, what do I expect to learn? Maybe there's one that really jumps out at you and you might even choose to read that one first. That's okay to do. I'm going to ask you to keep a log this week. You're going to write down the name of the book that you read, and you're also going to write down some of the important information. Some of the information we read might be just extra, but I want you to really focus on what you think is important from the book. All right, have fun reading. I can't wait to hear about all the topics that you learn about this week. See you tomorrow.